The underdog boxer who saved the world, when fists triumph over magic. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 21. The battle turns. After making a decision, Zhang Sanfeng said seriously, "The desire to change jobs is one of the things I want to give you. I also said before that I will add an extra skill to you in the heart of job transfer. It's not so much a skill as it is a chronicle of boxing and martial arts. This book is huge. You can see countless boxers inside, big or small. Some may have gone, some may still be alive. They have many differences, but they have one thing in common. These people have never given up their fists so far. There are too many names in the chronicles. They are nobody to the human world, but not to you. When you understand this book, you can clearly see how many twists and turns the entire human world and all the boxing cultivators have gone through for this pair of fists. Of course, you can also choose to directly learn the strongest boxing technique I mentioned." Yian nodded heavily and said, "I understand. Then let's get started." Zhang Sanfeng put his hand on Yian's head neatly. "Start changing jobs directly without any preparation." Yian clearly felt that a white vortex symbol gradually appeared on the talent symbol hidden in his body. The fists gathered together and returned to their positions. Moreover, the pattern of a book appeared in the talent rune Shanghai. This is the book Zhang Sanfeng was talking about, and you can easily read it if you calm down. The entire job transfer process was easy and painless. Yian closed his eyes and suddenly asked, "Uncle Zhang, who is the most powerful boxing cultivator in the human world from ancient times to the present?" Zhang Sanfeng replied, "My teacher's talent is the boxing god. Everyone calls him the boxing god." "Is he strong?" Hearing this question, a hint of loneliness appeared in Zhang Sanfeng's eyes. "My teacher died in the first battle zone of the First Great Wall 3 years ago. The Seventh Great Wall is the smallest battlefield, and most of the participants are of low level. It is the best choice for talented players to get a preliminary understanding of the battlefield, so it is also called the Genius Cemetery. The First Great Wall is the largest, boundless. It is a ring-shaped continent that spans 5 galaxies. It surrounds the northern part of the human world and faces the ghost world and the devil world across the other bank. When you are big enough, you are strong enough to use your fists. The strongest men in the human world are gathered there. The First Great Wall. The First Battle Zone. Also known as the Cemetery of the Gods. The entry requirement there is to be above the 9 realms, the Divine Realm. My teacher is the only boxing cultivator in history who is above the 9th level." Suddenly, Zhang Sanfeng paused and said, "Remember my next words. Although we all say that he is the strongest in history, the history of boxing cultivation only lasts for thousands of years. Because in the years when the human race was struggling in the heavens, there was no concept of boxing cultivation at all, because it was too weak and useless. Humanity resources are extremely limited and will not be wasted on a pair of fists. It wasn't until the Battle of the Throne ended 3,000 years ago that the human race climbed to the top of the mountain and sat on one of the thrones. Only then did they have enough resources to cultivate useless boxing cultivators. So don't think Meng Chen is annoying. If someone is enjoying happiness in this world, then someone must be sacrificing it. Practice boxing itself is a kind of enjoyment. So far, the boxing cultivator's combat performance has not even reached a positive number. You know what Zhangjuan is, right?" Yian quickly said, "Of course, the conversion rate of resources and combat achievements. Each registered soldier will have his or her own file data. How many enemies were killed and how many battle exploits were used, these data are all recorded. The total number of historical merits used to exchange resources is the denominator, and the total number of historical merits obtained from killing enemies is the numerator. For example, if Yian spent 100 combat points to kill an enemy worth 300 combat points, then his combat improvement would be 3.0, which is generally 300%. A large number looks better. This is the most important data on the battlefield and the greatest face of a soldier. The turn of battle directly reflects this person's combat effectiveness and battlefield dominance. Even oppressive. A person can be very sloppy and ordinary, but when it says 1000% war turn above his head, all the people will kneel down to him, firstly to worship the god of war, and secondly to thank him for his contribution to the human world. Some people also say that just by killing enemies and accumulating combat merits, but not using combat merits, wouldn't this be able to increase battle statistics? The answer is yes. But no one did. That's a battlefield, not a game. Everyone's military exploits can be used as soon as they are earned. If you can improve your strength, you can improve it. If you don't need the money saved, why don't you use it to do the first 7? After explaining the battle transfer, Zhang Sanfeng continued, the average battle transfer of the boxing cultivator profession is 65.6%. Achieving 100% is not a loss. So if you train a boxing cultivator, the human world will lose a resource. The profession with the highest combat merit conversion rate is the combat strategist, with an average figure of 729%. Give the strategist a resource, and he can bring 7 times the return. And Meng Chen's personal combat success conversion rate has reached 3,099%. Yi An's pupils suddenly shrank and said, "What kind of concept is this?" Zhang Sanfeng said seriously, war zones 1 to 8 are giant war zones. Meng Chen's war turn is ranked 3rd on the current list of giant war zones. History number 128. Yi An's heart skipped a beat and he said, History 128. That's right. Zhang Sanfeng nodded seriously and said, in the past few decades, 137 battles, no matter what enemy he faced, he never lost a single one. Although he has not reached the realm of gods, he is the god in the 1 to 8 war zones. And I'm only at 260%. If I were just an average attacker, this would be average. But I am Meng Chen's attacker, and this statistic is too embarrassing. They all said that Meng Chenchuan's dogs can achieve 1000% success in fighting. Zhang Sanfeng laughed at himself and said, so don't think he is arrogant, he is already very humble. If I had that kind of turn, all the dogs passing by would give him a kick. Besides, I was his classmate in college. I know what he wanted to be most was not a combat strategist, but a swordsman, because it was the coolest. But he finally gave up on his dream. For what? Zhang Sanfeng looked complicated and said, today, the average number of battle turns in the entire human world is 128%. Everyone whose combat transformation is above 100% is making a contribution to the human world. And everyone who is less than 100% is sucking the blood of the human world. So, to put it harshly, our boxing cultivators are sucking the blood of Meng Chen and averaging out his gorgeous statistics. Episode 22. Epic episode. In the quiet basement. Ji Qing listened to the chat between the two about the war. Something suddenly occurred to her. It doesn't matter how low Yi An's war performance is in the future. Because he will be very tall, average out his data. The reason is that he can practice automatically and the resources he spends are a few tenths of those of other people of the same age. Therefore, her denominator was born dozens of times smaller than others. Yi An also thought of this, turned to look at Ji Qing, and couldn't help but think, if Ji Qing could recover, then it is entirely possible for her to become the existence with the highest combat performance in the entire human world. The strongest in history. She has too many advantages. Just listen to Yi An ask, that Uncle Zhang. Who is the highest ranking person in the human world right now? Generalissimo. Zhang Sanfeng said calmly. Who is the strongest in history? There is no such ranking. Zhang Sanfeng shook his head. Why? Suddenly, Zhang Sanfeng asked, what if the Generalissimo dies one day? Who do you think should be ranked first between him and Yi Tianwen? Yi An said matter-of-factly, of course it's my ancestor? No, the Generalissimo continued to make great contributions, so? That's the feeling. Zhang Sanfeng said calmly, there is no way to rank them in history. Don't think this is just a statistic, but it involves too much. We are all the people who have contributed the most to the human race, and their contributions cannot be measured by data at all. If we insist on a ranking, if it gets serious, it may cause a quarrel among several meritorious families of the human race. That's why there's an epic episode. The epic episode represents the highest glory. Beyond the data of war, we can build a holy body together with other great people who have made great achievements for the human race in history, sit in the ancestral temple, and live as long as heaven in spirit and will. The positions are ranked in chronological order. It makes sense that this should be the case. After all, without the efforts of the predecessors, there would be no future generations. Zhang Sanfeng suddenly sighed and said, epic episode, sit in the ancestral temple. That's everyone's dream. Yi An also felt excited. In the history textbook he studied since childhood, every great man who had an epic episode and sat in the ancestral temple was written in detail. The king of the generation, Zhao Zhongtian, was gifted like a prairie fire and led the human race to rise into the sky. The second generation human king, Kushengwa, was gifted with the eye of heaven. He led the human race to fight with the ghost tribe, obtained the artifact materials, and made the human king sword. In the end, the ghost tribe committed suicide and retaliated. He opened his eyes with his life and dragged him away with his own power. The 9 tribes of ghosts fought for 8 days and 8 nights to buy out the decisive time for the human race to escape. To this day, Kushengwa's body is still in the museum of the Ghost Clan, allowing the Ghost Clan to humiliate him. This hatred lasts forever. There are many people like this, and none of them are alive. Yian always fantasizes about showing them the great rivers and mountains in the human world today. Tell them that this prosperous time is as you wish it to be. Every time he recalled this history, Yian couldn't help but feel excited in his heart. A few minutes passed and his job transfer was completed. Yian stood up and asked seriously, "Now, who is the genius with the highest conversion rate in the human race?" Zhang Sanfeng shook his head and said, "The current situation of their battle is not good. If I have to say the highest, it should be God King Ti Zhang Demon Killer. 177%. Second is Li He, 175%. So low?" Yian was shocked and said, "I'm nearly twice as high as them. 326%. That's not right. Li Tang told me today that Li He's combat achievements are twice as many as mine. Why is it so low?" Zhang Sanfeng twitched his lips and said, "Can you and them consume the same resources? You have been using the extraordinary level since you were a child. They use the infinite level. In the battle transfer data, the price of the unlimited level is 10 times that of the extraordinary level. That is, their denominator is 10 times greater than yours. The war ratio is lower than yours, but the total amount is definitely much higher than yours. But then again," Zhang Sanfeng said calmly, "when the war turns high, it will be high. I don't think they know who you are. If they knew that there was an infinite level that was superior to them, they would definitely be anxious." "Okay, the job transfer is over." Zhang Sanfeng smiled and said, "Come on, try your new power. Look at how much power you can accumulate in 0 time now." Yian immediately started trying. He looked forward, mobilizing the talent runes in his body, and the heart of job transfer above the runes started to operate automatically. Fist intention gathers. Yian's heart skipped a beat. So cool. It was as if there was a powerful vacuum cleaner in his body. With a loud bang, all the fist energy released after activating the talent was sucked in by the storm. Then Yian punched out from the air. Boom. The basement walls shook. Ji Qing on the side raised her eyebrows. Zhang Sanfeng even took a breath of cold air. Twice as much? About 2.1 times. After Yian finished speaking, he couldn't help swallowing, and an unstoppable smile appeared on his face. No need for time to accumulate power, punch twice as much. In other words, a punch with a punch. Yian looked down at his fists, unable to stop the smile on his face, and said, "It feels so good. The feeling of power." Zhang Sanfeng on the side smiled and said, "Do you still miss your stamina-breaking tree? The gathering of fists and intentions is your magical skill. I'm afraid that the amount of fist power released by your talent is not enough." Yian quickly said, "Yes. I am accumulating power faster now, and I feel that I have reached the limit of the speed at which my talent can release my fist. The Supreme Fist is like a hairdryer, continuously releasing wind power. The gathering of fists is like a blower, quickly gathering the wind power. Nowadays, the wind blown out by the hairdryer can be drained instantly by the concentration of fists." Then something might happen that Yian never thought about. His extractor fan was pumping. The hairdryer can't keep up with the power. This made Yian frown. Has your talent become a shortcoming? At this time, Zhang Sanfeng patted Yian on the shoulder and said, "The better the talent, the greater the potential. Maybe you haven't developed your talent yet, so there will be some problems. Let's develop it slowly later. By the way, what is your talent? I didn't recognize it." Yian said seriously, "It is not in the talent illustrated book, and the talent detector cannot detect it, which means that there has never been a talent like mine in the human race. I call myself the Supreme Fist. Real or fake? Zhang Sanfeng raised his eyebrows again and said, "Can't you tell?" "Right. Interesting." Zhang Sanfeng couldn't help but be delighted. A talent that has never been seen before has appeared in the human race, and it is only about fists. Does this mean that the sky is about to light up on the path of boxing? Come on, give me a punch and let me see how high your supreme fist is. Zhang Sanfeng pointed at his stomach. Yian couldn't help but said, "It will shake the surrounding environment." "Hey, you are so arrogant, are you afraid that I can't neutralize your power?" Zhang Sanfeng snorted and said, "Don't worry about that. Collect your mind and just punch." Episode 23. Fist on the Mountaintop. When Yian heard this, he immediately smiled. He tried several times in his dream, draining his energy and accumulating energy until he died. It was precisely because he had seen himself punching with all his strength that he thought he was a natural boxer. Yian didn't talk nonsense and started to accumulate strength. The fist intention began to rise, and white mist rose around him. Soon, 5 seconds passed. The mist around him became thicker. Zhang Sanfeng nodded slightly. Then, 20 seconds passed. There was no feeling of fatigue on Yian's muscles. Zhang Sanfeng raised his eyebrows slightly. Then continue. A minute passed. Zhang Sanfeng's eyes narrowed slightly, and the mist around Yian was almost solidifying at this moment. Then continue. 2 minutes pass. Zhang Sanfeng's pupils trembled slightly. There was dense sweat on Yian's body, his face was not as calm as it was at the beginning, and his physical strength was gradually bottoming out. This moment. The fist around him completely solidified, like a pair of armor attached to Yian's arm. Weapons of martial intent. Zhang Sanfeng was shocked. Isn't this something that a martial artist at the 5th level can do? A whole body of martial intent, condensed into armor, or a weapon at your disposal, greatly strengthens your own strength. Yian was only in the 3rd level and could do it. The Supreme Fist. What a Supreme Fist! But it's a big risk, this weapon of military will is not genuine, it's just a one-time use. Otherwise it will really make you feel inferior. But it's not over yet. 2 minutes and 37 seconds. Yian's face showed pain and his physical strength was at the bottom. At 2 minutes and 48 seconds, Yian's body trembled slightly, he couldn't control his fists, and the ground began to crack. 2 minutes and 56 seconds. Yian's fist power had reached an out-of-control level, and the entire basement began to shake. Cracks began to appear in the sandbags, exercise equipment, and load-bearing walls. 3 points exactly. Zhang Sanfeng shouted loudly, "Punch!" If he doesn't punch again, Yian's fist will be completely out of control. At that time, the fist will be scattered, the strength will not be concentrated, and the lethality will be greatly reduced. There is no point in continuing to accumulate strength. But Yian didn't listen. 3 minutes 02 minutes. The basement with a radius of 100 meters was completely covered with fist intention. Yian's eyes were filled with scarlet bloodshot eyes. He felt as if he had been cut into pieces by 1,000 knives, but he still gritted his teeth. You can't make a sound. Once you speak, your strength will be released. 3 minutes and 5 seconds. The limit has been reached. Yian raised his head and roared, like a tiger descending from the mountain, and punched Zhang Sanfeng without any fancy. Too much force. Too fast. A sonic boom. The terrifying impact shattered the load-bearing wall of the basement. The ground shook and houses began to collapse. But Yian only has Zhang Sanfeng in his eyes. His eyes are like a dragon, focused together. Finally, punch out like a dragon. The sound of the fist is like the roar of a dragon. There was a serious look on Zhang Sanfeng's face, but his body remained motionless. The next second. Boom. There was a loud bang. Zhang Sanfeng was unscathed. Yian's fist stopped on his abdomen, unable to make him take a step back. Then. The basement is about to collapse. But the next second. The extreme ice is like light and shadow passing through the huge room, and everything in its path condenses into frost. Ji Qing stood there quietly, and for just a second, she was already in a world of ice and snow. The entire wooden house was completely frozen and did not collapse. Zhang Sanfeng thought to himself that he was really a monster against heaven. He couldn't help but think of the lament left by an ancient man. Although the remnants of the sky are fleeting like fireworks, they are also dazzling and brilliant like fireworks. No, His Highness will not die, Zhang Sanfeng thought silently in his heart. Finally, he said, go out first, I will ask the earth building restorer to come and deal with the house. Ji Qing nodded silently. Then, the exhausted Yan was taken to the backyard lawn. He was lying under the ancient tree in the sky, lying in a large shape, his body flushed red due to excessive congestion. He was breathing heavily. Not only did he feel tired, but he also felt that his brain was lacking oxygen, he was a little hypoglycemic and his lips turned white. Zhang Sanfeng sat next to him, with an unpredictable expression on his face. Never seen such a thing. Charge for 3 minutes. The third realm. The punch's powerful aftermath actually caused a wooden house to collapse. Suddenly, he noticed cracks on the road a dozen meters outside Yan's house. This moment, he suddenly realized something very important. This thing sounds very ordinary. It's something that no one believed in before, but now some people should believe it. Meng Chen also mentioned this matter. Boxing cultivators are the most worthless warriors on the battlefield. Zhang Sanfeng believes that boxing practice has value, but we just haven't encountered the right talent. Thousands of years passed. Master could not prove this until his death. Therefore, in the past 2 years, cracks have appeared in Zhang Sanfeng's Taoist heart. But at this moment, the power in his body that was extremely important to the 9th realm demigod began to surge. Suddenly, Zhang Sanfeng stood up and looked up at the infinitely high sky. There was no trace of vicissitudes of life in his eyes, and the wine gourd around his waist became a decoration from now on. On stage on top of the world. There must be a place for boxing practitioners. But on this mountain road, as Yan heads to the top of the world, someone must knock him out of the way first. Finally, he turned to look at Yan lying on the ground and said with a bright smile, this punch is very high. Practice well, I'll wait for you at the first Great Wall. After saying that, Zhang Sanfeng left. Then, the engineer arrived and quickly repaired the house under the command of Li Tang, who had been waiting at the door all night. I don't want to move anymore. Yan muttered to himself. Ji Qing sat beside him with her legs together, raised her head and stroked her hair, and moved her mouth slightly. I will carry you home. Yeah. Yan tilted his head and fell asleep on the spot. The house was also repaired with the help of earth practitioners. Ji Qing, a princess, hugged Yan, floated into the air, and flew into the house along the window. Li Tang downstairs also returned home. The evening was over. But this is for Yan. 7-1 war zone. That is, the 7th Great Wall, the first battle zone. The demon genius Kelsey fell in a pool of blood, his face full of despair. In front of him was an ordinary-looking, gentle boy with black-rimmed eyes and thick bandages on his hands. Li He walked towards Kels step by step, with calm steps and a calm expression. But in Kelsey's ears, Li He's footsteps were like the whisper of death, getting closer and closer. Infinite level. If I kill you, I should be able to defeat Zhang Demon Killer in the battle. His battle conversion data came to his mind, 175%. Just being ranked second has always made him uncomfortable. Thinking of this, Li He twitched the corner of his mouth and slashed with his sword. At this time, a demon king came. The next second, Meng Chen then appeared and confronted the demon lord, with a relaxed and comfortable look on his face. The demon lord spoke very quickly, and quickly offered a bunch of high-priced items, trying to buy Kyle's life. Meng Chen asked Li He to make his own decision. Episode 24. Beheading. But Li He didn't even hesitate. He pointed his sword at Xingyan Liushui, slashed across Kelsey's neck, turned around and left in a dashing way. Meng Chen nodded silently. The price paid by the demon lord is extremely high, which is enough for Li He to cultivate to the 5th level. It takes courage to give up this astronomical figure. This behavior was also approved by Meng Chen. Ordinary people would think that by taking the resources of the demon clan, wouldn't we humans be able to save a lot of money? But they never thought about it. When an SSS plus demon prodigy reaches a later stage, the harm he brings to the human race may not be what these resources can buy. Li He's choice is extremely beneficial to the human race and extremely harmful to the demon race. But besides the demons, the person who suffered the second largest loss was himself. The demons would offer him a sky-high price for Kel's life. But the humans would not give him the same award. There will be some rewards, but they will definitely not be as much as the demons spend to buy their lives. No way. The situation of the human race is different from that of the demon race. The demon clan is a clan-based city-state world. They are not united and stand side by side in the demon clan, but they will obey the demon king's orders. This system means that the ordinary people of the demon clan are worse than death, but those powerful clans and city-states are extremely rich. So they offered exorbitant prices to buy their lives. The human race is different. What we are talking about is that everyone can live and work in peace and contentment, be happy and healthy. Only 2% of the powerful clan members share the blame of the demon clan. The human race's pot must be shared with everyone. The resources that the human world provides for free to people likely here are much less than the resources that the demon world provides to Kells. But this is already the limit of what the human world can give. We have only been on the throne for 3,000 years. The demon realm sat on the throne countless years ago, and the backgrounds of the two are not at the same level. Therefore, even if Li He chooses to take money rather than his life, no one will say anything. But he chose to risk his life rather than money. This is the gesture of a king. Li He calmly said, "Now, my battle transformation is the highest in the contemporary era, right?" Meng Qin lowered his head and glanced at the data, frowned and said, 180%, surpassing Zhang Demon Killer's 177%. But there's another guy who has a 326% turnaround. Li He suddenly raised his head, his eyes as sharp as swords. Who is it? You don't need to compare with him. Meng Qin shook his head and said, he has been using extraordinary evolution fluid since he was a child. The denominator is lower than you. Hearing this, Li He was confused and said, no one is willing to use unlimited resources to train him? He doesn't want to. Meng Qin chuckled. Really? Li He was confused. Is he having a neurological problem? If an infinite-level person does not need infinite-level resources to cultivate, the future upper limit will definitely be less than theirs. This is beyond comprehension. Meng Qin smiled and said, aren't you crazy? After saying that, he lowered his head and looked at Li He's hands. They were scarred and covered with thick black calluses, making people's skin crawl all over. Would you rather do this than hold a sword? What you're doing is nothing more than spending your own money on martial arts. It's still too late to turn around now. Regarding this question, Li He just shook his head silently. By the way, what's the name of the man who has more than 300 battles? Meng Qin said seriously, Yan. One of your biggest rivals in the future. Really? Li He smiled. The smile was actually a bit oozing. Suddenly, Li He remembered something and asked, I passed by Tianshui City today. I met someone, it seemed to be a girl. She had extremely powerful ice in her body. This man is very strong. Why have I never heard of it? Meng Chen's expression changed slightly, he quickly sighed and shook his head, saying, you don't need to know more about this person. You may not meet in the future. However, Yan is right next to her, and the two of them are inseparable. Have you noticed? The one beside her is Yan. With her? Li He raised his head, frowned, thought for a moment, and asked in confusion, is there anyone with her? I really can't remember it, I have no impression. The next morning. Today is the graduation ceremony of Tianshui High School, and it is also the registration time for the Super High School League. Both of these matters have nothing to do with Ian. He doesn't have to go to the graduation party, and he's never been to school. The principal of the Super High School League will help him sign up. He needs to do one thing today. Break the situation. 3 points of unlimited evolutionary fluid. Ian felt like he was about to ascend. Looking at these 3 colorful jars, he couldn't stop smiling. Thinking of this, Ian stood up from the bed suddenly. Call. He took a long breath and suddenly his eyes twitched because the pain from yesterday's excessive exertion still remained. But it doesn't matter. He has healing powers. This is the benefit of fellow practitioners in the 3 realms. The source energy in his body was quickly converted into water element, and then he raised his hand and quickly cast a spell in the air. The water healing spell took effect, and a comfortable feeling filled his internal organs. Use the remaining water element to brush your teeth and wash your hands. But suddenly, his tiger body trembled. Where is Ji Qing? Logically speaking, she should sit at the head of her bed, right? There is no smell of a second person in the whole room. Missing? Yian frowned slightly and suddenly saw a piece of paper lying on the bedside. I'm going to practice boxing. There are only 4 crooked characters. It's obvious that Ji Qing has no calligraphy talent. Yian brushed his teeth and walked towards the basement. Before he even finished going down the stairs, he heard the sound of Ji Qing's fist. When he arrived, his eyes widened. I saw Ji Qing's cheeks were rosy, and although she wasn't sweating yet, she was wearing a lot of clothes. You practiced all night? Yes, what's wrong? Ji Qing turned her head, with a smile in her eyes, like the light of the resurrection of all things shining on Yian's head, so beautiful that it made people trance-like. That's right, you don't need to sleep. After Yian said this, he walked forward and gently touched Ji Qing's forehead. 33 degrees. But then, Yian also noticed the trash can beside him. It was full of paper, and the paper was all stained with blood. Yian thought about how much money he would have to spend to buy something to replenish blood. Suddenly he thought of something. Your temperature has come up. You should be able to eat cooked food, right? Hey, it seems okay. Ji Qing's eyes lit up. Yian quickly opened the takeout app to order. It's very fast these days and arrived in 5 minutes. A bowl of noodle soup is full of good ingredients, such as duck blood, pig blood, cow blood, large intestine, fatty beef, etc., and the aroma is fragrant. Ji Qing sat upright in front of the bowl of noodles, looking a little nervous. This may be the first time in her life that she tastes cooked food. In the past, she was not completely unable to eat it, but if she insisted on eating it, she would vomit blood every 5 minutes like she does now, and risk her life for a smile. In the past, when his father was here, he would rather be frozen than vomit blood. Now it seems that I should be stalling for time. Back then, he seemed to have met a mysterious big man, one of the patron saints of the human race. He came to Yian when he was 18 years old. It must be the intention of that big shot. Episode 25. Our ordinary day is her dream. Ji Qing took a few deep breaths. She was very excited, but she didn't know how to use chopsticks at all, so she reached out and grabbed it. Yian just wanted to say it would be hot. Then I thought about it. It's the devil who knows how to get hot. Instead, I have to worry about whether the noodle soup will freeze. I saw Ji Qing's little hand reaching directly into the bowl. This was truly a sacred moment. Her little face was twisted into a ball, as if she was afraid of something. Right. Afraid that the delicious hot food will freeze again. I am afraid that I will never be able to eat like a normal person in my life. Ji Qing put her hand into the bowl. No ice. She hurriedly took out a piece of meat and stuffed it into her mouth, swallowing it whole. Her throat moved slightly, her eyes closed, and she nervously felt the feeling of eating. Yian wanted to laugh a little. But the smile quickly turned into worry. How stupid. The simplest things in our daily lives are distant dreams for this little girl. I always felt that her life was very difficult. I can't even sleep to pass the time. But at this moment, Yian felt in a daze that he might not be able to feel even 1/10,000th of her pain. I was just watching and thinking. But she was experiencing it. A mouthful of hot beef. Ji Qing's face was stunned. Yian frowned, wondering if there was ice in his stomach. Ji Qing's eyes gradually became cloudy. This made Yian couldn't help but step forward. But suddenly, 2 lines of clear tears flowed from the corners of Ji Qing's eyes. She choked and murmured, "So this is the smell. So this is how it feels. Delicious. Delicious. It's really delicious." After repeating the same words several times, she lowered her head and started eating eagerly. Ji Qing stuffed everything into her mouth without any image, crying while eating. This is delicious too. This tastes so special. I like this. This was the first time in Yian's life that he saw someone eating, crying, and laughing at the same time, as if they were crazy. Suddenly, he said fiercely, "Is 1 bowl enough?" "Not enough," Ji Qing said excitedly. "I want to eat 10 bowls, all different. Right away." Yian nodded heavily. He quickly ordered. The heights of the world. Ji Shi looked at the fate cards and ice beads with a solemn expression. The 2 are equally broken. Life cards are 1.77, ice beads are 1.75. But suddenly, Ji sure looked surprised. The life card and the ice bead shattered at the same time. Only 0.1% of the fatal cards were broken. The ice beads were broken by 0.5%. Fantastic. Ji sure sighed in his heart again, praising Mr. Tianming and praising Yan. In the basement, Ji Qing couldn't stop at all. Bowl after bowl. To be successful in life, you must have all the fun, and she wanted to eat enough today. Are you full? Yan couldn't help but ask. No. Ji Qing shook her head. Suddenly, Yan felt that Ji Qing's face looked much better again, so he reached out and touched it. It's 35 degrees. Can eating heat up your body? Or is it because of excitement? I don't know, but as long as she's not hungry, I'll keep placing the order. Hot pot. Barbecue. I'll fix them all for you. Yan is not short of this amount of money, the most expensive of them all. After ordering, Yan waited for a while. A bunch of takeaways arrived at home, and after he brought them all in, he said, "Then you eat slowly, I have a breakthrough." Okay. Ji Qing didn't raise her head at all and lowered her head to eat. She didn't have the same feeling as before that her eyes were full of Yan. After Yan chuckled, he poured the elemental evolution liquid directly into his mouth. After a few seconds, the medicine dissipated and his spiritual palace shattered. Then, the majestic medicinal power clung to the outside of Ling Mansion, just like tearing down a wooden house and adding new materials to build a villa. Yan saw this kind of scene many times, and never once was he not shocked. The spiritual palace is shattered, and it's hard for the gods to save it. But who would have thought that breaking through the realm is a process of fragmentation and reorganization of the spiritual mansion? Some people even asked the boss of Gao Tianyu for help. If the spiritual palace is shattered during the battle, will it be effective if I take the evolution fluid? The other party's response was, you can try it, there is a chance of saving it, but you must take it immediately. This caused the price of evolutionary fluid to skyrocket again. As for the reason, Tianyi Academy's website has a dedicated and detailed explanation. Yan knew every word. Added together, Yan couldn't understand it. The evolutionary fluid used by humans is not a gift from God, but the crystallization of human wisdom. In the countless years of human history, no one has been the greatest hero. Everyone who works hard for the advancement of mankind and promotes the progress and reform of Taoism is a hero. There are so many people like this, most of them don't even have their names left. They only left the evolutionary fluid in Yan's hands. What flows in the colored liquid is the life of one scholar after another, and their wisdom remains in the body of every ascetic forever. Soon, the elemental realm was successfully broken through. Then, the mental state is more painful, but the thing Yan is not afraid of the most is pain. In the dream practice, he has enjoyed the feeling of death countless times. Anyway, he won't really die, but this also makes him always feel that he has never really felt death. At this moment, Yan looked even more convinced when he looked at Ji Qing. Let alone death, I may not have even experienced the most painful thing in the world. There is a long road ahead. The last item. Martial arts realm, advance. Yan's eyes were tightly closed, his brows twitched slightly, and a majestic strength rose in his body. Some cracks appeared in his limbs, but they healed quickly, repeated hundreds of times, and more than 2 hours passed. Colorful lights appeared on his body. Breakthrough successful. Yan couldn't wait to raise his head and look at the 5,000-kilogram boxing bag hanging in the center of the basement. It's easy for him to hit a force of 5,000 kilograms. Just charge it up and that's it. But his goal is to achieve this effect without accumulating energy. Yan thinks it's almost done. His body exploded out, and before the colorful light dissipated completely, it flashed out like a straight rainbow, and the last punch hit the boxing bag. The next second. Boom. The punching bag explodes. The dense heavy sand is scattered with flowers. Ji Qing is still cooking. A lot of sand flew towards her rice bowl, but she had quick eyesight and quick hands. Freeze them all. Walls of frost rose around her. All the sand is frozen in the air. She didn't look, just lowered her head to eat. Yan was covered in sand, but was quickly washed away by the water element. He raised his head and shouted, all smiles. Cool. The sandbag is not heavy enough. His punch was not fully filled, and the sandbag exploded. This is the charm of infinite evolution fluid. There is no exact data to what extent his basic strength has increased. Yian wants to wait until he gets to Qiani Academy to take the test again. At this moment, he was extremely glad that he chose Fist Intention Gathering. With the breakthrough, his basic strength more than doubled, and the speed at which the Supreme Fist talent can release its fist also doubled. Moreover, it can still gather 2.1 times the power instantly. This is compound interest. Yian took a deep breath. Just broke through, ready to buy new training resources. The concentration of Fist Intention must be strengthened. It is necessary to prepare more various training materials. His goal is very clear. Before officially enrolling in school, all 3 realms must reach the midterm of the 4th realm. This is the most basic, because by that time, peers who are practicing a single profession will be at least in the late stage of the 4th realm, or the early stage of the 5th realm. Now that he has completely entered the middle 3 realms, it is said that his cultivation speed will be twice as slow as that of the lower 3 realms. So he has to hurry up. But at this time, the doorbell suddenly rang. Yian and Ji Qing looked up at the same time. Do you have friends? Yian shook his head and said, I didn't. Oh, who is that? I don't know. Yian concentrated and walked towards the door. Episode 26. Shidwa attacks. Yian came to the door of the house. As soon as the door opens, I saw a handsome young man standing in front of him, but his eyes were extremely gloomy and his hands were clenched tightly, making people feel that he was extremely angry. You are Yian, right? The young man was filled with anger. Are you okay? Yian was confused and said, I don't know you, right? Yes, we didn't know each other before, but now we know each other. My name is Lin Zhou. I am number 1 in the whole grade of Tianshui High School. Lin Zhou took a deep breath, stared at Yian and said, You stole my qualification for the high school league, right? Yian frowned and said, I don't like to use the word steal. At this time, Ji Qing also walked out. She raised her hand to condense the frost. Yian quickly stopped her and said, It's okay. Just tell her. Tell me? Lin Zhou's eyes were filled with resentment and he said, The qualification to participate in the Super League was originally mine. What do you want to say now? I only have one request, give me back my qualifications. Yian frowned. At this time, his radio rang, it was the principal calling. Yian, is Lin Zhou looking for you? Right. I'm really sorry. After the graduation meeting today, Lin Zhou has been losing his temper since he learned that he has lost his qualifications for the league. We really didn't know what to do, so we gave him your position. I know. Yian nodded slightly. Lin Zhou is a good boy. It's my fault that I didn't tell him about this in advance, so he didn't know the truth until the last day. The principal sighed. Yeah. Yian nodded slightly, not angry. After Xingtai hung up, he looked up at Lin Zhou and said, Do you know why the league qualification is mine? Without waiting for Lin Zhou to speak, Yian quickly said, Because I am infinite. What? Lin Zhou's expression changed slightly. This qualification has never been your concern. Yian shook his head and said, I'm sorry, I already made an agreement with the principal 3 years ago. He will give me all his excellent training resources, and I will bring him a ranking of at least the top 4. And my student status is also Tianshui High School. This qualification can only be obtained by those who are able. The top 4, do you think you can do it? Lin Zhou's pupils suddenly shrank. Top 4. On the stage of the Human World Super High School League, the strongest students from 200 million high schools in the human world gather. Because there are so many people, there is no room for error and every game is a knockout. Lose one game and it's over. For the top 4, Lin Zhou calculated that he would win 128 games in a row. He is only an SS level. There may be only a handful of infinite levels in this generation of high schools, but there are many SSS levels, and there are even more SS+. He can't beat anyone he meets. Lin Zhou even calculated excitedly about this. If he was lucky and never encountered an SSS class from beginning to end, how far could he go? The most you can have is a ranking among the top 5,000 in the human world. This ranking was enough to keep him awake all night with excitement, and his mouth was watering just thinking about it. The guy in front of me is the top 4 when he opens his mouth. He feels that he is 4th in the world. What a joke. Lin Zhou kept breathing violently, his face looking very ugly. He wanted to be angry. But I don't know what to do. Because if everything is really as Yian said. This qualifying spot was reserved by him 3 years ago. Then who do you think you are? Lin Zhou has been a proud man in the eyes of others since he was a child. He ranked first in the school every year for 3 years in high school. He had never imagined a scene like today. When facing another peer, his pride was like a joke. Because the other party is infinite level. After reaching the extreme level of anger, Lin Zhou raised his head and shouted, "I don't accept it." Yian was not angry, he raised his head and said, "Let's take action." Lin Zhou's figure suddenly rose, and a lightsaber with glowing light appeared in his hand. His talent is the 5 elements sword. Therefore, he is a dual cultivator of elements and flesh, and his current state is comparable to the peak of the 3rd realm. In Lin Zhou's eyes, he was very fast and ranked first in the school. But in Yian's eyes, he was as slow as a snail. Lin Zhou stabbed Yian's chest mercilessly with his sword. Yian's body swayed and he lightly punched with a side hook. Boom! With a small muffled sound, Lin Zhou flew out like a kite with its string broken. He fell to the ground and felt no physical pain, only mental pain. In the end, he didn't stand up and knelt on the ground, his eyes red, his lips trembling, and he was emotionally broken. They are not on the same level at all. I am not a proud person at all. In front of the infinite level that is proud of the contemporary world, it is just a fly that can be easily swatted to death. So, this spot never belonged to me, right? Finally, Lin Zhou stood up, wiped away his tears, turned and left without saying a word. Yian frowned, not knowing how to comfort the child. Damn the principal. If he didn't tell him about such a big thing earlier, he would have waited for it for 3 years in vain. Yian could even think that Lin Zhou, as the top student in the whole grade of Tianshui High School, must have told his classmates and lovers around him that he would come and cheer me up when the time came. Finally, Yian picked up the star platform and began to study the league rules to see if there could be a way to get the best of both worlds. At the same time, Lin Zhou did not go home. He sat in his favorite restaurant after school, ordered a meal, lowered his head and remained silent. Suddenly, a group of students ran in. "Brother Zhou, how's it going?" "Brother Zhou, why are you?" "Lin Zhou, are you okay?" Lin Zhou raised his red pupils and glanced at the group of close classmates around him. He didn't know how to give them an explanation. "I have told them a long time ago that when the time comes, come and cheer for me, I will definitely win the top 5,000. The battlefield will definitely not be here by then, so we can take everyone to travel to other places." Everyone made preparations for the trip early and fantasized about the scene every night. What will other cities be like? What level would other geniuses in the human world be? It is a grand event, and I, Lin Zhou, will take everyone to the banquet. This should be a wonderful graduation season. The high-spirited young man is ready to go. But who would have thought that this story was just an illusory dream? It's over before it even begins. In the end, he couldn't hold back the sadness in his heart, so he lay down on the dining table and cried. Suddenly, all students received a message on their star platforms. The demon genius Shidwa will compete at the border of War Zone number 67 to have a fair fight with a certain human genius. Because there is a powerful person in charge, students are allowed to come to watch the battle. Students who want to come will gather back to school as soon as possible. A woman sat next to Lin Zhou and asked, "Do you want to go?" Lin Zhou lowered his head and looked at the message. A certain human genius? Besides myself, who else is there in Tianshui City? Only him. Could it be him? After Lin Zhou's expression changed a few times, he said, "Go." Episode 27. Shadow Chasing Light, 5 Miracles. Yian's home. He also received the message, but the content was different from those students. Sido suffered a big loss at your hands before. He can't stand this anger. Now he comes to find you in person, right on the border of the 67th war zone. Will you come? Yian agreed without hesitation. I just broke through and was looking for a suitable sandbag. Didn't this come to my door? He showed the news to Ji Qing and said, "Let's go." Ji Qing was biting into the spicy root strips, nodding her head like a chicken pecking at rice. You seem to like spicy food? Yian asked. Yeah, it's that, spicy. Ji Qing responded vaguely. Then, Yian touched Ji Qing's forehead again. 35.5 degrees. How is it? Is it very hot? Ji Qing asked with a smile. Only then did Yian realize that Ji Qing actually had dimples, white teeth, and her eyes looked like crescent moons when she smiled, extremely sweet. It's almost there. It should be the same as a normal person's temperature in 2 days. Let's go, let's go. Yian was originally a soldier running back and forth from the front line to the rear, and he had a special energy shuttle tool in his hand. After the two of them sat down, Yian opened the Star Channel and clicked on Tianyi Daily. Most of them are small things. After all, big things don't happen every day. There are also some things about people's livelihood. Then, Yian continued to pull down. Suddenly, his eyes froze. The most powerful genius in the human race today shows his power. Yesterday morning at the border of the 7-1 war zone, he single-handedly killed Kelsey. The whole process was crushed, the video is attached, the genius is named Li He is gifted and has unlimited sword control. Yian quickly clicked on the video to take a look. Ji Qing on the side also came over, smelling the sweet smell. Is it him? Ji Qing raised her eyebrows. It's the guy who brought the city lord's son back yesterday. The reason why he passed by Tianshui City was because he was going to war. The two of them watched Li He's battle scenes carefully. Yian felt sweat dripping from his forehead. Li He didn't just practice one thing alone, he also took into account the elemental realm. He has an elemental skill, chasing light. Light element skills are extremely difficult to learn, and the price is astronomical. Chasing light can greatly increase a person's speed and carry light and shadow. Therefore, in the entire video, no one could see Li He's face clearly, and there were only countless lights and shadows swirling in the battlefield. The wind howls. Li He's speed is getting faster and faster. Kelsey enters the demonic state. He is 5 meters tall, extremely fierce, and has an amazing sense of oppression. But Li He's sword finger seemed to be equipped with a steel knife, and Kelsey's sturdy armor couldn't bear it. One finger pierced the armor and blood splattered. Then the sword intention burst out. No, it was the intention. Li He has completely transformed the infinite sword intention brought by the infinite sword system into meaning. The first ability of the infinite sword system is the infinite sword intention. This is one of the widest rivers in the world. Any opponent who wants to touch the limit of the infinite sword intention will pay the price of death. The overwhelming meanings gathered into a killing array. Li He held his finger and shuttled through the killing formation. Kels panicked because he couldn't touch Li He at all. The armor on his body was continuously struck and shattered. Then, the body under the armor gradually became a bloody mess. But after all, he is the genius of the demon world, and he has more than one method. He activated another ability and was able to turn into hundreds of demonic shadows, making it difficult for Li He to tell which ones were real and which were fake. Shadow clone? Yian chuckled, but the next second, his smile stopped abruptly. Li He's desire to change jobs appears. Chasing shadows. The ability of this professional heart is extremely easy to understand. You can leave a shadow while moving and then swap places with the shadow. It is equivalent to the space exchange of the space system, but it has a huge flaw that cannot be overcome. That's the shadow. If you leave a shadow, others will definitely keep an eye on you. If you are caught changing positions, you will be beaten on the spot. Therefore, this intention to change jobs has been criticized by others as flashy. But everything is different in Li He's hands. Releasing the shadow requires martial will. Li He has infinite sword power and can release infinite shadows. Moreover, Li He is too fast. Dozens of shadows can be left behind in an instant. How to find this? In the blink of an eye, Li He's chasing shadows were already more than the opponent's clones. Li He found out Kelsey's true identity in a few seconds. Moreover, he accumulated strength for 2 seconds while moving, and drew a flash of white light with one finger, like a polar star exploding at one point. Kels fell to the ground, completely losing his fighting ability, with a face full of despair. The video ends. Fuck. Yian's lips trembled slightly and he forgot to blink. The whole battle only lasted 3 minutes. Not a word of nonsense. Not a moment's pause. He has been running crazily, and his speed has been increasing in the past 3 minutes. When the opponent makes a move, he breaks it. If the opponent moves again, he will break. All his movements were smooth and neat, and he was simply a demon-slaying machine without emotion. What shocked Ian the most was Leahy's movement battle power-up. He is not yet able to move and charge energy at the same time, which requires extremely terrible body control and the ability to focus on 2 tasks. A slight distraction will cause the charged state to collapse. He was able to accumulate energy for 2 seconds while moving, and his majestic fingers condensed into a point and exploded, killing. Too fast. Ian suddenly took a long breath. It turned out that he had forgotten to breathe just now. Stunned. How could it be so strong? And he hasn't gone all out yet. He didn't seem to break a sweat until the end, and the word relaxation was written all over his body. The comments below were even more explosive. It's a good chance that a monster like this won't be able to participate in the Super League. Otherwise, he won't be able to play at all. He'll just win the award. Is this someone the same age as me? What did he eat growing up? I've heard about this guy. His daily training program can make everyone feel desperate. What? He wants to break the record of the 5 miracles of physique before he is 20 years old. It's close now. Ian's scalp went numb when he saw this comment. The 5 miracles represent the 5 basic abilities of a martial artist. Physical fitness, strength, speed, martial intention, willpower. There are 5 different ancient ruins in the human world, and each ruin has a special formation. The miracle of speed must pass the test of the ruins of Tian Shan Mountain. As the name suggests, moving in the ruins feels like carrying a mountain in the sky. The force of gravity is up to hundreds of thousands of times. Those whose bodies are not strong enough will be crushed into pulp in an instant. Did he run around in that kind of place since he was a child? There are 4 other ruins, representing 4 different tests and 4 miracles. Is this his daily practice program? How could this be something a teenager could handle? At this moment, Ian finally realized the gold content of Zhang Sanfeng's words. In my eyes, you don't have any actual combat ability, and you don't understand how terrifying your peers are. The geniuses of this generation in the human world are not human beings. Ian thought deeper. His dreams can see many things. He has been chasing. Chase the light. Chasing shadows. He wants to be the fastest in the world, but no matter how fast he goes, there is no smile on his face. What is he chasing, and what is hidden behind that expressionless face? Episode 28. Call the formation, you can't lose the momentum. When Ian calmed down. The Source Energy Shuttle has arrived at War Zone number 67 and landed slowly. Tianshui City is originally a border town, only 800 kilometers away from here. Not out of the cabin yet. Ian saw Li Tang scolding the demons. The opposing general stood in front of the border and called out, "Hurry up and get out here and give my young master a good beating. If not, I will break through the Great Wall of your 67th war zone today." On the Great Wall. Li Tang was completely unafraid and sneered, "If you want to fight, then fight, don't talk so much." At this time, Shidwa walked out and said sarcastically, "I heard that today is the human race's job change day, and it is also the day of adulthood. If those children lose their parents today, it would seem that His Highness is a bit too cruel. How about this? Let Ghostface come out. Both superiority and inferiority, life and death. I won't kill your weak soldiers." On the Great Wall, Li Tang spoke with the quintessence of Chinese culture. "I just said I wanted to fight, and now I want to challenge you. You can count yourself as a. This is the Great Wall of the human race, not your chicken coop. Who is afraid of you? I have been guarding this Great Wall for 10 years, and I have listened to you talk about breaking the wall hundreds of times every day. Talk like farts, this is the Demon Clan, what rubbish. Come, let's start the war, now." Finally, he shouted angrily. The whole army obeys the order and forms a formation. This is the formation called when the 2 armies confront each other. Very unpretentious. What's important is that you can't lose one's momentum and see who is more fierce and ruthless. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that the demon clan's highness was defeated by Ghostface before and was so angry that he wanted to fight today. It's okay to say it bluntly, but I still have to get angry first. Li Tang couldn't bear his temper at all. He limped on the Great Wall, and his vulgar words echoed in the sky across the border. On the other hand, look at the demons. The faces of the demon warriors in formation all looked ugly. They also have families and don't want to die. Previously, it was said that they were here to suppress the formation, so there was no need to fight, as long as the strong human beings could not be interfered with His Highness's battle. Looking at it now, why do we really need to fight? Just because His Highness is a bitch. Although everyone only dared to keep these words in their hearts, their attitude was already reflected on their faces. The demon army was unable to dismount, and Shi Duo's face was extremely ugly. There is no way, we can't really fight. So he pretended not to hear Li Tang's scolding just now, and could only shout, "Let the ghost face come out." The sound is loud, but it always feels a bit suffocating. Shi Duo also deliberately looked back at the soldiers around him. Although they all had serious faces, he always felt that everyone was laughing at him. He was very angry. On the Great Wall. Naturally, Li Tang didn't want to fight. People would die in a war. If they could avoid dying, they would definitely not die. Since the other party has swallowed the bullshit, he said. Then he should take a step back. I have notified Ghostface, he will be here soon. Wait. Just rely on your hard work and don't get beaten to death by Ghostface. Shi Duo sneered and said, I've already checked it. His talent has no actual combat ability at all. You should beg him not to be beaten to death by me. Now. Yian looked at each other on the Great Wall. In his hands was most of the information about Sido. Name, Shi Duo. Race, multi-brained demon race. Talent, 5 demon generals, SSS+. Realm, mid-stage of the 4th realm of spiritual power, mid-stage of the 4th realm of physical body, and no doubt of the elemental realm. The fighting habits are: know thyself, ever victorious. It's not that Yian doesn't like the profession of combat strategist, he just prefers boxing cultivator. Formulating combat strategies is like instinct to him and does not need to be learned. He looked at Sido's information. Behind him, students from Tianshui High School were gathering. Yian felt strange, this was the front line, not a playground. If something unexpected happens, these students will not survive. Did Li Tang have water in his head today? A group of students actually came here to watch the battle. Suddenly, Ji Qing gently tugged on the corner of his clothes. What's wrong? Yian turned around in confusion. Understood. Meng Chen was seen standing at the door of the general command room with a forced smile. Yian patted Ji Qing's shoulder and said, You also heard what Uncle Zhang said yesterday? Meng Chen is also eager to achieve success and has no bad intentions. Ji Qing said softly, I know, I don't hate him. When Meng Chen heard this, he immediately breathed a sigh of relief and quickly bowed his head in salute. Yian, let's talk? Just here. Yian said. It's okay, you can chat alone. Ji Qing said, I want to visit the Great Wall. As she said that, she touched the stone wall of the Great Wall, felt the temperature and smell here, and silently noted it in her mind. She didn't know when she would lose these basic human abilities again. So use it often and remember. Even if you fail to defeat fate in the end, you won't be so sorry. Yian went to have a private chat with Meng Chen. Ji Qing took out a small notebook alone, with many words written crookedly on it. Yian, very good. I want to live. Boxing is fun. It's warm and comfortable. Spicy and delicious. The city wall smells fishy? It's blood. The border is very sandy and wide. Ji Qing held a small book in her hand, wore a blue dress, and walked lightly on the broad Great Wall. The energy plane carrying students landed. Many students saw Ji Qing at a glance and were stunned for a moment. Oh my god, there are fairies. Ji Qing was completely undressed, with no makeup, black hair shawl, and a matching blue dress. She looked calm, holding a pen and a thin book, walking alone. But everyone can clearly see that there are many powerful soldiers stationed a few hundred meters in front and behind Ji Qing, who are equivalent to bodyguards. Not just a fairy, but a big shot. Lin Zhou saw her at a glance. I also saw her in front of Yi An's house. By the way, she is also a monster. Is it possible that the other party is looking for her? Anyway, it has been determined that she duo was either looking for her or Yian. At this time, a classmate said excitedly, what the other party is looking for is a ghost face. What does he want from brother Ghostface? As far as I know, Cedo was causing trouble in the city 2 days ago, and he was looking for Ghostface, because Ghostface is an infinite genius. As big as us. Kill Ghostface, Shido's combat power will be greatly improved. Lin Zhou turned his head fiercely and said, who do you think the other party is looking for? Ghostface, said the classmate next to Lin Zhou. Ghostface. Lin Zhou stood up fiercely. No one could understand the emotions in his heart. 2 years ago, he tried to be a hero to catch a fugitive, but was almost killed. Ghostface saved him, turned around and left without saying a word. Lin Zhou, who had been frightened to death back then, looked at the ghost-faced back and the black robe floating in the wind, and felt that he was as handsome as a god. Later, Gue Mian rescued him and became the target of his pursuit. Lin Zhou dreamed of becoming someone like Gue Mian in the future. A hero in a city or even a war zone. Mysterious, powerful, chic, low-key, yet admired by millions of people. How cool. Now suddenly tell him that the ghost face is Yian? For a moment, Lin Zhou's pupils were dilated and he had mixed feelings in his heart. Episode 29. Demon God General. In the General Command Room. Meng Chen looked at Yian and asked, do you have the confidence to fight Xido? Yes. Yian nodded slightly. Although he is gifted with the 5 demon generals, his current level is too low and his body can only carry 2 demon god general patterns. But to you, it's still 1 against 3. The demon god will be one of the demon's most powerful early-stage combat talents. And your 2 talents are not in the early stage, you need to think clearly. Once engaged in battle, there is no turning back. If you lose, you will die. The upper limit of this talent of the demon god is limited, but the lower limit is extremely high. There is 1 devil general, 3 devil generals, 5 devil generals, and 7 devil generals. As the name suggests, the number on the talent represents the number of demon god general marks that the talent can carry. The so-called demon god generals pattern is the mark of power of the demon clan's god-level warriors. Using the mark of the demon god general, one can summon a god-level warrior from the demon clan, but the realm is the same as the users. The combat effectiveness of the demon god general is also closely related to the ability of the gifted user. But when the god-level powerhouses were young, they were all at the same mountaintop level. Even if Shidwa can only recover 60% of their strength when they were young, it would be scary enough. After all, they are 2 people. Plus 3 of himself. Therefore, Yian has to face 2 geniuses who once dominated an era and a manipulator. Yian said seriously, it's really hard to fight 1 against 3 head-on. The key is to break Cedo's mental power. Yes, but can you do it? Meng Chen frowned and said, can your talent currently enable external attacks? Yes. Yian nodded heavily. I can pull people into my dreams. That's good. Meng Chen took a deep breath and said, but I still have to tell you. It's not too late for you to regret it now. I'll send another man wearing black robes to fight. Hearing this, Yian frowned slightly, and his mind was thinking very fast. Another person? Li He. Yian raised his head fiercely, his eyes trying to penetrate the command room. Sure enough, on the rooftop, a lean and elegant young man wearing glasses was squatting on the ground, his head lowered, and his hands placed in the rich-colored medicine basin in front of him. The 2 scarred arms were absorbing the power of the medicine. Li He's fingers seemed a little tired. But his expression remained calm. Although separated by a ceiling. But he could still feel Yian's gaze. He said calmly, after more than 300 battles, why is it so frustrating? Yian below could hear it clearly. He twisted his neck and said crisply, let's go on stage. Meng Chen nodded heavily and pulled him out of the general command room. In the battlefield. The 2 armies are facing each other, 6 kilometers apart. In the center, there is a deep pit left by previous battles. Shidwa stood in the pit and had been waiting for more than an hour. He shouted impatiently, where are the people? Weren't you very arrogant before? You are as timid as a mouse, don't you dare to fight me. The human race all felt a little uncomfortable hearing this, thinking why the ghost face didn't come out yet. But suddenly, boom! A violent piercing sound exploded in everyone's mind. Everyone looked up sharply. I saw a figure diving downwards at an alarming acceleration. Countless people were shocked. This appearance was beyond everyone's expectations. Lin Zhou couldn't help but think in his heart, this is too cool. Do you dare to fall from such a high place? If you are not careful, you will fall to death on the spot if you cannot remove the impact. In the pit, Shi Duo also raised his head and stared directly at Yan. No referee required. The battle has begun at this moment. His eyes burst out with strong spiritual power, and the dense magic patterns on his back glowed with black light. Then, two phantoms appeared behind Shi Duo and quickly solidified. A statue covered in black and red mottled armor, holding a spear. One was covered in dark purple armor and holding a giant sword. Tall and fierce. This is the teenage period of the two demon gods of the demon clan. The one with the gun is called the demon god, and the one with the giant sword is called the mad demon god. They were solemn, standing on both sides of Shidwa like imperial guards. Finally, Shidwa raised his head and looked face to face with the ghost. He raised his hand and pointed, and the two young demon gods rushed straight up and slashed at Yan. Yan looked at it intently and felt it carefully. These two demon gods have no elemental or spiritual aura in their bodies, and they are both pure weapon players. That would be much easier. I saw that he suddenly chose to close his eyes. The demon god pierced out with a spear, and the airwave was pierced by the tip of the spear, and there was a sound explosion. It's so sharp that it makes your heart hurt. The other giant sword demon was even more astonishing. As he drew his sword, the strong wind was quickly cut away by him. The sound of the sword resounded, and the strong sense of power was frightening. People only feel a numb scalp, and the consequences of being hit will be disastrous. Yan still didn't open his eyes. At this moment, there was only Zhang Sanfeng's voice in his mind. In his free time, he has been learning the strongest boxing technique left to him by Zhang Sanfeng, called Divine Comedy. The spiritual imprint left by Zhang Sanfeng told Yan. The Divine Comedy is not only a boxing skill, but also a tragic song, commemorating every pair of fists in the human race that failed to crush fate. Every move in the Divine Comedy is the hard work of many boxing practitioners throughout their lives. Now I'll teach you the first move. Overture, The Wind Rises. Zhang Sanfeng emphasized this countless times in his book. Feel the rhythm of the wind, the direction of the wind, and finally transform into the wind, become the wind, possess the agility of the wind, and hear the sound of the wind. You don't need to have the wind element, you just need to remember two words, feel. The wind has a sound, and it will tell you the enemy's movements. Like this moment. The two demon gods were flanking each other. They were only 20 meters away from Yan, and they would meet each other in the next second. Episode 30. The Surging Wind. The armies from both sides of the human and demon camps were staring at the battlefield. They clearly saw that Ghostface's eyes, which were covered by the ghost mask, were closed at the moment. What does he want to do? At this time, the spear and giant sword have arrived. A shot pierced the sound barrier. A simple sword cuts through the wind and clouds. The next second, Shi Duo's pupils below suddenly shrank, with a look of disbelief on his face. I saw Yan's body gently rolling like the wind, turning in the air, and actually passed this attack with almost no blind spots. Relaxing and comfortable. On the rooftop of the Great Wall, Li He was still soaking his hands without looking up. Ji Qing frowned slightly, a little dissatisfied. Shouldn't Yan beat those two big-headed soldiers to death with 2 punches? Only a group of students shouted excitedly over there. Now, Yan had already passed by the 2 demon generals, and with full fist power, he crashed straight into Shidwa. Shidwa looked ugly and quickly raised his hands to resist, but in front of the supreme fist, his defense was vulnerable. Yan knocked Shi Duo away with 1 punch. On the way back, Shidwa hurriedly controlled the 2 demon gods to come back to guard. But the next second, Yan's eyes flashed blue. The dream opens and pulls Sido directly into the dream. Shi Duo only felt that the world was spinning in all directions, and the scene turned, and he came to a black and red purgatory. Yan's body floated in the air, like the master of everything. Without pausing, he raised his hand to control countless hell flames to blast towards Shidwa. Shi Duo looked solemn. He is a multi-brained demon who is born with strong mental power. But Yian is an infinite dream, and his mental strength may not be weaker than him. Damn it. Shiduo lowered his head and cursed secretly. I have never seen such an opponent before. Mental confrontation often hurts others by 1,000, but oneself suffers from 800. The other party didn't hesitate at all and directly started working with him in the spiritual world. Aren't you afraid of becoming a vegetable? Before he had time to think about it, Shiduo's eyes burst out with majestic white light, and his mental power rushed towards the surroundings crazily. He is attacking everything in this world. Because the entire world was forged by Yian, destroying any part of this place can cause harm to Yian. The purgatory meteorite fell. Shiduo used his unpretentious spiritual power to hold up. Both of them looked in pain. Yian's eyes were fierce, and he controlled 3 purgatory meteorites to blast out again. Shiduo cursed loudly. If they collide again, it will not be good for either of them. What a fool! I won't play with you like that. I saw that he quickly multi-purposed, and part of his mental power forcibly connected with the demon generals, causing them to attack Yian. Yian snorted coldly. The dream shattered, and he opened his eyes and returned to the battlefield. His figure turned to one side to avoid the blow of the mad demon god's giant sword. The earthquake cracked. The terrifying impact directly blew Yian up, and then the spear to defeat the demon god arrived. I saw that the opponent's gun body was covered with a strong gun spirit. He clenched the handle of the gun tightly, swung it in a circle, and accumulated strength. He didn't release it immediately, he was playing a game with Yian. If he dodges immediately, the demon god will immediately change the angle of the gun. TCH. Yian dismissed it. Game with me? His eyes can slow down everything 10 times. I saw him staring at the movements of the demon god. Yes, it's coming out. Hide. Call out. The spear created a wave of air, and the tip of the spear was only 3 centimeters away from Yian's chest. In full view of everyone, he completed a perfect dodge. Not too fast, not too slow, just right. Then the giant sword arrives again. Guns and swords come out. Yian failed to crush Shiduo's mental power first, and was entangled by his demon general, and the danger factor increased. At this moment, Li He on the rooftop sighed and said to himself, "Why are you so boring?" If it had been him, Sito would have been a corpse now. But he was also curious, why did Yian change his job? Still not thinking about changing jobs? Sudden. Appeared. Yian leaned over and dodged the spear and sword at the same time. His eyes were sharp, he punched his right fist, and his fist was full of intention. The next second. Boom. He punched the gun demon god in the abdomen, and the opponent's figure flew out, but he was not seriously injured. Yian's face changed slightly. 2.1 times the force can only knock him back? Can't even injure him? This is the disadvantage of boxing cultivation. Both the tip of the spear and the tip of the sword are extremely sharp, and you will draw blood if you hit it. The cross-section of the fist is too large, and its lethality is far inferior to sharp weapons. But it's not a big problem. Yian took a deep breath. He wants to resolve the battle as quickly as possible. His eyes were filled with silver blue light. The dream begins. His figure swayed back and forth in front of the 2 demon gods like a swimming dragon, perfectly dodging each other's attacks time and time again, charging up his strength, and punching. The demon god was defeated again. Yian took advantage of the victory to pursue and stepped in front of the demon god. The opponent quickly spun around and passed the spear in front of Yian. Yian dodged an iron bridge, threw out his body with his palms, and hit the demon god on the head again with a punch. The giant sword came from behind again. Yian didn't even look back. He seemed to have vaguely realized that feeling. The sound of wind. No need to pay attention, just dodge by feeling. This made him a little panicked because he felt very unstable and there were no eyes behind him. What if he felt wrong? But he still believed in his feelings. The giant sword slashed across. Yian's figure flickered and he barely dodged. Countless students on the Great Wall were shocked. Even some soldiers stretched their necks with disbelief on their faces. Can you hide without even looking? Ouch! Yian let out a long breath. He was getting better, then he raised his fist and continued to rush towards the demon god. His fighting style is fierce and explosive, and his instinct is to strike first, take advantage of the victory, and kill you while you are sick. Another punch hit the demon god. Then avoid the giant sword. One more punch. The demon god's eyes dimmed by 3 points. The gun intent in his body broke out again, sweeping across the battlefield to force Yin back. Yin continued to move forward, the supreme fist and the fist intention converged and rotated at the same time. After accumulating force for 1 second, both fists were launched towards the majestic spear intention in front of him. Dispersed. He rushed forward again, his figure like running water, dodging the hasty shot of the demon god, and making a punch without any fancy, rounding his arms, and accumulating power for a second. Boom. Boom. After accumulating power for 1 second, Yi An's multiplier increased to nearly 4 times. A qualitative change in lethality. The fist fell, and the head of the demon-conquering god blossomed, turning into spiritual power and spreading out. Each body has a defense threshold. Your attack power is not very lethal when it is below this threshold, but once it is higher than this threshold, the lethality will change qualitatively. Now, Yian can definitely defeat such a physically powerful enemy with up to 5 times the force. Therefore, Yian cannot pursue more punches, but must find a way to accumulate power for a few seconds. At this moment, the giant sword demon god charged again. Yian turned his back to him, a choice flashing through his mind. Turn around and then charge up, or just charge up and turn around and punch straight. After all, there are no eyes on his back, and the sword is longer than his fist. If he fails to dodge this blow, he will be knocked back first and his fist will not be able to touch the opponent. But Yian still chose to accumulate power directly. As for how to avoid this sword, feel the surging wind.